Hello, 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 and welcome back to the Millionaire Bob Morning Podcast Show. We are here with a guest who's going to speak on our favorite topic in the world. We have Sausha Davis with us, who is the CEO of Sales Mama. She's the founder of Sales Mama and a powerhouse sales mentor for ambitious women who want to grow multi six figure businesses without sacrificing their sanity or family. A mom, entrepreneur, and unapologetic closer. Sausha teaches women how to lead with conviction, close with confidence, and scale with strategy. Her signature approach blends proven sales psychology with emotional intelligence, helping women sell like leaders, not hustlers. Welcome to the show, Sausha.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you for being here with us today. Like I said, sales it is it is the engine that is the reason for all things running. So this is a topic that I know that this audience is going to enjoy. So let's
Yeah.
jump right into it. Sasha, why sales?
Well, sales chose me. I didn't choose sales. For the longest time, I refused to even call myself a sales professional or a salesperson because there was such a negative connotation attached to sales. You think of slimy car salesmen or, the door-to-door people that won't leave you alone. And so I also embodied that belief for a very long time until I started my own coaching and consulting about 10 years ago and realized that so many people needed sales and I had the skills for it. And so I needed to overcome my own beliefs about what it means to be a sales professional. And I wanted to pave the way for the industry to tell people that they didn't have to be gross or slimy or pressure people into a specific product or service. It was more about servicing the person and using sales as a service versus the hard pushy type of stuff. So I would definitely say that sales chose me.
Got it. So going back, let's go back to childhood. Did
Okay.
you not only did you see yourself as a salesperson, do you see yourself as today, which it may just be service and not sale? Do you see yourself today the same childhood person that Sasha
Oh,
Davis was?
absolutely not. Not even in the slightest. So I come from a family of, blue collar folks. I mean, for the most part, we were pretty poor growing up. I mean, we were on, welfare, food stamps, all the things. My parents worked multiple jobs and then they split. And so I had kind of a rough childhood. I mean, I was back and forth between parents. I was in and out of foster care. I had a not traditional upbringing in the least. And I was actually the first of my family to graduate high school and the first of my family to graduate college. So that's on, both sides of my my parents. And so I learned everything by trial and error and by grit and determination, and then hiring the right people to help me pave the way. So
Got it. All right. So what was your journey like? Did you take the route of college, corporate, the route that your parents tell you to take, the best route in the world?
yep. Yeah, I did. I actually had this mantra that I told myself from, I mean, as early as I can remember, and it was, what would a normal person do? Because I had such a abnormal upbringing. So my thought was, what would a normal person do? A normal person would go to school, they'd try to get good grades. I did not get good grades. I was fortunate enough to graduate, we'll say. So that was like, what would a normal person do? They would graduate high school. What would a normal person do after that? They would go to college. They would, get that corporate job. They would climb that corporate ladder. And so my parents didn't really push for that. I don't really think, I mean, they, looking back, I don't think they gave two craps about what I did. It was more or less like grow up and get out of the house and, take care of yourself type of thing. You're not my problem anymore was more or less the thing that my parents pushed me to do. So I started working from an early age. I think I got my first job when I was like 14 and supported myself from then on. But no, I did. I went the traditional route and, got the corporate job and, I climbed that ladder pretty quickly, but I was not happy in that situation.
I get it. Like you say, sales will force itself on you, especially if you need to separate from a situation that you are unhappy in.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Once you jumped off, let's say the corporate porch and into entrepreneurship, what was that like? What was the mindset for that? And did fear creep in?
Oh yeah, fear still creeps into this day. I still talk about it. I mean, it's like new level, new devil is what I tell people, because if there's something that you're not familiar with, your default setting is to go back to what's safe and what's the normal habitual thing to do, right? So my my saying now is, what would a normal person do, to almost be the total opposite of that, right? Because a normal person stays in that job, they stay in that rut, they wake up and repeat the same thing over and over. And so when I left corporate, I had my first child. I have 4 kids now. So it was my first, and I was in corporate sales and, marketing, customer service, management. And so I was working those 12, 14-hour days. And so I just did not want to pay somebody else to raise my kids, essentially. And I was getting burnt out. And yeah, I made decent money, but at what cost? So after I had my daughter and went back from maternity leave, I was like, no, not this. And so somebody had planted a seed that what I was doing, I could go do on my own. And this was before I really knew what podcasts were or what coaching was. I knew what consulting was, but I didn't really know the extent of it. And so I had listened to some podcasts and some people planted some seeds. And about 2 months after I went back to work, I put in my notice and said, I'm not doing this anymore. And I didn't really have a strategic plan. I just knew not this. And so there was a ton of fear, but I'm also that person that is like, I'm going to figure it out come hell or high water. So,
Yeah. So we're here today. I was on your website and I would use it for an example. And
yeah.
that example would be, to anyone that's out there listening in the audience, that example would be how you hear this all the time. So that's why I'm making this point. The example would be how to specifically niche down.
Mm-hmm.
So with you specifically, mothers, sales, you tied the two together. How long after you started your business did you niche down that exclusively, and what was the purpose?
Yeah. So interesting story. When I first started, I was just throwing noodles at a wall to see what stuck, right? I was going out there and doing anything that I could to really hone in on my entrepreneurial journey. So I was doing business coaching, I was doing life coaching, I did a little bit of health coaching. I kind of tried all the things to figure out what I liked the most. And then about 5 years into my journey is where I really started to niche down. And I had an experience that happened within the same week. So I was consulting for some higher level clients, some 7 and 8 figure businesses, training sales teams and whatnot. And I started to butt heads with this one person in particular. And he was basically like, hey, I need you to do sales this way. And that was against everything that I had learned in sales or that I was teaching in sales. And it was a very old, outdated method from my perspective, because I have been in insurance. I've been in so many different sales components that this was like a 20-year-old, very outdated, doesn't really work in today's world anymore. And so with that, I basically let that go, and he made me feel like such an idiot. He made me feel so small. And in that moment, I was so angry. I was like, oh, screw you. I'm going to go find a female sales mentor to try to help me do this thing. And so then I get on a phone call with a woman a couple days after that incident and get to the end of the call. And she basically tells me, you're not going to have the level of success that you desire because you prioritize family too much. And I was like, you have got to be kidding me. Like, on one end, I'm being told by somebody that the way that I do sales is wrong and that I'm never going to be successful in that way. And then on the other hand, I go to try to find somebody who I align with, thinking, oh, women empowerment, blah, 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 blah. And that's not even really a thing. Like, it's good to be a girl's girl until that comes down to, the bare bones. And then people are like, nope, that's you're not going to be successful. And so I was so frustrated. I was so angry. And I'm one of those people that if you tell me I can't do something, I'm like, watch me. So I said, I'm going to double down on how I do sales, connection-based sales, psychology of sales, emotional intelligence of sales, service-based sales, and I'm going to help as many females or as many mothers or as many women as I possibly can. Because if me as a sales professional is butting up against this, I can't imagine what other people in the industry are encountering. And so I really doubled down on this about, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, possibly. And it's not that I haven't worked with any men. It's more that I have a niche. And if people align with that message within that niche, then absolutely I will work with you.
Definitely.
Yeah. So my niche was built out of spite, we will say. I'm a lot less spiteful this many years later. I mean, I have a very supportive, very loving husband. I have a lot of really supportive, men figures in my life. And so it's not that like I'm a man hater by any means, because I know that there's been people who have thought that. It's just that I saw a need and I wanted to fill that need. So that's where the niche came from.
Got it. So, okay, I like the story that you were just kind of out there throwing stuff against the wall. That's what a lot of us do until we do find this is a certain person. And normally, you know who it is? It's yourself that you're helping.
Yeah. Yep. You are absolutely right. Yep.
It's crazy. But, when you decide that you do want to niche down, like, the person that you used to be or the transformation that you want to have, if you can start right there, that's a perfect place to begin.
Yep. Yeah. I think back and, I kind of wish, hindsight 2020, right? Because there was breadcrumbs that this was where I was supposed to go, because I was still helping people with their sales and with their business. But I didn't know how to mirror my methods, or I didn't know how to blend my methods with current sales processes. And I didn't know how to really niche down, because I was still very much in that mindset of, oh, I want to help everybody, and if I just help everybody, well, it's like saying everything's important, then nothing's important, and it's not that I didn't have success then. I just didn't have as much success, I think, as I could have allowed myself if I really, focused in on one or two things versus trying to do everything all at once. But we live and we learn. So
that's right. Have you seen increase in business based on when you decided that I am going to focus on just this particular group of people?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Things really started to, I've been pretty fortunate now that I've been in the industry for a while and I've seen what other people are making. And I was pretty fortunate, in the beginning, because that first year that I went off on my own, I think I made about $60,000 US dollars. And that next year I hit six figures. Like I hit, like $10,000 a month, $10,000 to $12,000 a month. And from then I did pretty well around like $15,000 to $20,000 a month. I'll just say numbers because nobody ever says numbers. Like everybody's very like hush hush about numbers. And so from then on, like my minimum was about $15,000 or $20,000 per month that I was bringing in for my coaching and consulting. And there were some months where it got up to, 30 or 40, depending on who I was helping and, if there was commissions involved and, stuff like that. And since I really doubled down on this niche and really was focusing in on like who I'm helping and, expanded on my programs and my systems and my processes. My next goal is $100,000 a month. So I want to have, a 7-figure year. This year would be the first time that I hit 7 figures for myself in 1 year. But I mean, our minimum each month is right around like 50 or 60,000, a month now. And so my next goal would to be that 6 figures a month type of thing. And that's where we're on the path to, we're on track for. So that's kind of how things have progressed. But I've also learned a lot about myself. I've learned a lot about how to leverage and how to delegate and ads and marketing. And so I think that has all helped me in the past few years as well.
Right. New levels, new devils.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
So when you do go to a new level, I read that you initially had a coach. Do you still hire coaches as you move to a newer level?
Oh, absolutely. So the very first person that I hired was right around the time that I did leave my corporate job. And again, this was when I didn't really know what coaching was. I had listened to a couple podcasts, and this was back when podcasts were like kind of a newer thing. It was like, oh, what's that purple icon on your phone, you know? Um, and so I found this woman in Canada, and I get on the phone with her, and at the end of it, she's like, and that'll be $6,000, you know? I mean, there was more to it than that, but I was like, what? No way. Like, I thought this was gonna be like $600, you know, like my money mindset, like I had no idea. But I knew that something in me was like, you need this. Like, you need to find a way to make this happen. And so at the time, I didn't just have, $6,000 sitting in my checking account. So I ended up putting it on a credit card. And I mean, I made that back pretty quickly. And I found so much value in that every year since then, I set aside a portion of, profits of the previous year to invest in higher education, any type of certifications, any type of, programs that I've wanted to learn, coaches, mentors. And so, I mean, last year I probably spent close to $60,000 on programs and mentorships and coaches, consultants, and that's not including my team that I pay too, but it's kind of increased over the years. And so if there's something that I want to learn, yeah, I know I'm capable of learning it on my own, but I can shorten that timeline and I can fast track that timeline. Plus I can have the accountability and, so I'm a huge believer in that. And I think that's part of the reason that I have gotten to where I am today is because of all of those people that I have invested in or, invested in myself, I guess you would say.
Right. That's thank you. Thank you for that. That's so important.
Yeah.
It's so important. I also want to thank you for mentioning numbers.
Yeah,
Like,
nobody ever does. So I'm like, I'm
nobody
just
ever
going to put
does.
it all out there.
Nobody ever does. And I
Yep.
have to say, one of the reasons that I even have this podcast and this brand is because I wanted to put it out there.
Mhm.
Like, I believe that it's okay to want to be a millionaire. It's
Yeah.
okay to be a millionaire. That we gloss over six figures, right?
Mhm.
But if we put in our mindset, a lot of people they wanted six figures. Like when I was coming out of school anyway, that was the goal is to make six figures.
Yep.
So why can't the goal be to make millions?
Yep.
So I kind of wanted to tell that and kind of structure the thinking and the numbers. Don't be afraid of the numbers. It's
Mm-mm.
okay.
Yeah. I was afraid of the numbers for a very long time because there was a big stigma around making money. I mean, again, like I come from not a lot of money. And so when I was growing up, the sayings that I heard all the time are money doesn't grow on trees and money is the root of all evil and people who make money are just taking advantage of people. And so I had all of these negative beliefs, and that was part of my journey in the beginning too, is that when I hit that first like $10,000 month or $15,000 month, I mean, as soon as I earned it, I spent it because I didn't feel safe like hanging on to that money because it was like, oh, who am I to have this much money? Da, 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 da. And so I would just spend it, or I would like silly, I would donate it, or I would help my sister, or I would help this person. And then as quickly as I would make it, it would be gone. And so I was back to that like paycheck to paycheck type of mentality. And so I really had to work on money mindset stuff to learn that like, it's okay to have money. It's safe to have money. It's okay to want to make a lot of money because the more you make, the more you can give. And and that it's okay to want to take care of myself and my family. And that's been a really hard part of my journey.
Right. And it's a real thing. I have a lot of business psychotherapist coaches on this show. And it's amazing that those small things that you went through as a child are holding you back. Just your way of thinking when you're an adult. And that's a real thing. And people don't know that it's something that you actively have to work on.
Yes.
The mindset work.
Yeah, I did some inner child work is what they call it, where you go back and you basically forgive your childhood self, forgive the people, there's a whole practice within it, but it's basically going back and like rewriting your story as a child and healing your inner child self. And that is some of the hardest work that, I mean, I would rather build 10 businesses than have to go back and do inner child work. Like, it is the most uncomfortable work I have ever done. And I mean, there's still stuff that I need to do, but it's like, oh, I don't want to go there because,
Right.
you know, it's really, really hard. And a lot of people don't want to go there. They don't want to talk about the emotions. They don't want to talk about past traumas or things that have happened. But the to the extent that you allow yourself to go there will be the extent that you allow success in your life, is what I have seen. And I was working with a hypnotherapist at one point, and she had told me that your money beliefs are solidified by age 7 based on what you have heard up until that point. And so
Wow.
you have to go back to your pre-7-year-old self to work on those money stories, because those things are now like, they're wired in your brain deep within you, and you don't even know it until you start to hit these new thresholds and you revert back to factory settings, you know?
Wow. That's amazing. That's exactly what I've heard from the
Yep.
psychotherapist. And yeah, the work, like you say, the deeper you dive into one side, the more you're successful on the other side.
Yep.
But it's scary. It's a challenge. You have to be ready.
Yeah, you talk about fear. I'm like, I'm scared all the time. But it's usually like the systematic stuff is the easy stuff, like setting up funnels and systems and doing podcasts like this. Like, I love it. But you asked me to sit down and work on my inner child so that I can hit a new level of success. I'm like, nope, I don't want to do that. Like,
Yeah. That's
that's
the part
really
I'm
hard.
scared of. Right. Oh man. So let's you brought up marketing. Can we speak strategy
Yeah,
for a minute?
absolutely.
So what is it like to be a closer? What type of mindset do you need in order to someone steady throwing you objections, someone steady telling you I don't want what you're offering?
Mhm.
What is the framework that Sausha Davis uses at Sales Mom?
So it goes back to mindset is the first thing. I have realized that the more resilient you are, the better closer you will be. And what people end up doing is they take the no personally. And all I am doing is I am a mirror for what you want or need or desire. And so my questions are there to uncover a want or a need. And everybody's knee-jerk reaction is no. I mean, nobody wants to be sold something. I mean, even the things that I do want, if you tell me that I want it, I'm gonna be like, no, I don't want that. And then I'll go buy it somewhere else when I'm ready to buy it, type of thing, right? So you have to embrace the no and realize that that is not personal. And then you have to find a way to get their guard to come down. And so this is where emotional intelligence, this is where being able to connect with them on a personality based level. So there's a few different types of methods that I teach. And one of them is a portion of this gal called, her name is Danny Johnson, and she teaches a GEMS method. And basically it is personality based sales. And so I have my own little swing on it, and I teach in a couple different contexts, but I'll give you the nutshell version. And so most people will sell analytically. They'll think black and white. You need to do this because it makes logical sense. Most people don't buy on logic, they buy on emotion. And so how do we get into those emotions based on how that person is thinking, acting, and feeling? And so there's key words and phrases that we can look for to determine what type of personality they are. And so there's really 4 types of buyer personality. There is a Ruby, which is somebody who wants to be wants the best of the best. They want that VIP experience. They don't want the lowest tier. Like, they want results fast, and they want a big return on their investment. They're usually pretty direct. They're pretty bold. They don't like small talk. Next, we have an Emerald. An Emerald is going to be your logical buyer. They're going to ask you about stats, facts, data, success rates. They want to know the black and the white, the nitty gritty. Is this going to make logical sense for me to do? Then we have a Sapphire, which a Sapphire is like, that's my predominant characteristic. I'm an underlying Ruby, but my dominant is Sapphire. And so these people are fast action takers. They want to talk big vision. How is this going to change my life or other people's lives? Like, who else is going to be there? Is this going to be fun? Is this going to be exciting? Don't bore me with the details. Don't bore me with the logic. I just need to know, is this going to work? And are we going to have fun along the way? And the last one is a pearl, which is a heart-led individual, and they care more about connection. And so think of the people who want to save the whales, save the dolphins, save the world. They're not really in it for themselves. They're in it for the ripple effect. So how is this going to make an impact on their family, their community? And a lot of times they're a lot more soft-spoken. They take a lot longer to answer questions. They love small talk. Like, you really have to get a connection going with them in order to build that trust. And so there's, again, certain phrases that you can look for in those types of people, and then alter your questions or how you are closing the call or just having a sales call based on their personalities so that you can close the deal quicker.
So you don't believe in scripts?
I do have scripts. And so there is a general outline for scripts. And so in generally speaking, you're going to build connection and authority first. You're going to clarify what problems they are having. Then you're going to go into, what they've tried, what they've done in the past, what their goals are, what their vision is. And then you are going to paint the picture of the gap. So this is where you want to be, but this is where you currently are. And then you go into presenting your solution and then overcoming any objections. And so you have key questions that you will ask, but how you respond to those questions will be based on what their answers are, which will uncover what type of personality they are.
So what I'm hearing you say is listening is the key to selling.
100%. Yes.
Got it. So we spoke about numbers. How do you ask for the payment?
So this is a big controversy because there's a lot of people that will over-explain the payment. So if I were to pitch something, I would say, hey, so-and-so, this is the thing that I offer. These are the things that you're going to get. This is how it's going to change your life. And it's a one-time payment of $10,000. And then I would shut up. I would shut up because silence is power. And so I joke around with my clients and I say, the first person that talks loses. And you don't want to be the first person to talk. Okay, because we try to over-explain things and fill that space. They will answer. They'll say, okay, let's do it. Or they'll say, do you take payments? Or they'll say, I don't have the money for that. And then you go through all the objections.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. Oh, wow. So do you, or how much do you require training from your reps? Do you guys do what is it? Practice?
Role play. Oh yeah, we do a lot of role play. So for the people on my team, we meet a couple times a week, and then we have daily sales huddles. We do 15-minute daily sales huddles, which we go over any hot leads, any warm leads, any prospects that we need to get in touch with, any big objections that we're hearing. Because the thing with marketing is, you shouldn't have a ton of objections by the time you have a phone call if your marketing is set up the right way. And if you have systems and automations in place, because you can put a lot of that stuff in your email reminders or in your email automations to help overcome those. Like, here's this person and they didn't have the money to do this, but then they found it and now look where they're at. Or this person who didn't think that now was the time, but they ended up taking a chance and now look where they're at. Or this person had a hard time convincing their partner of something, but then they had a talk with them, or they brought them on the call and blah, 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 blah. And now look where they're at. So your biggest objections are going to be time, money, energy, spouse. Will this work for me? What happens if it doesn't work for me? And so you want to make sure that you're overcoming those objections in your marketing and in your funnels, so that by the time you get to that pitch, that they already have a lot of these seeds planted within them, and you don't have to try as hard to overcome those objections because they're already preceded within them. But I make my people do a lot of role play, and even the people that I work with in my signature program, Sales Mama School, which is other business owners and some of their sales reps, we do role play at least once a week. So for example, yesterday on our call, I taught a specific part of our script, and then everybody knows what personality they are, but not everybody else knows what everybody else's personality. So sometimes I will put two challenging personalities together to make them role play so that they can really troubleshoot what that looks like in that call. And so people will get 5 or 10 minutes to role play with each other, and then we'll all give feedback on what went well, what could be better. And it's not like sugar-coated feedback. Like we're actually trying to give constructive criticism so that when you do get to your own closing calls, you can close the call and not have to stumble over your words.
Right. That's amazing. That's the way to success.
Yeah, we do a lot of
So
practice. We call it, yeah, it's all role playing, but it's like if you were practicing for a big game. You know, you wouldn't show up and never having swung a bat or, you know, shot. You just wouldn't, right?
yep, exactly. That's amazing. Amazing advice. So someone wants to work with you. What are the next steps?
So I tell people to start with one of my quizzes. So I have two different quizzes. One is the personality quiz. The other is the money gap quiz. And so the first one is going to tell you what type of sales personality you are, what type of buyer personality, and how you can use that as your sales superpower. Okay. The next one is going to tell you how much money you're missing out on every month by seeing what your close rate is, how many systems and automations you have set up, basically doing an audit of your business foundation. And so people really like to see how much money they could be making when they take that quiz. And so based on that, after you go through the quiz, you can either go the DIY route, which I call my Sales Mama groundwork. It's all the foundational things that you need to do on your own time. And then I have my signature program, Sales Mama School, which has group coaching, one-on-one coaching. You have a one-on-one accountability partner. I mean, we have scripts and templates and email automations. There's some a portion of done for you type of stuff in there as well.
Okay. All right. And where can they follow you? Social media sites?
Oh yeah, I'm everywhere. So you can go to Sales Mama School on Instagram or Sausha.Davis. I'm on LinkedIn, YouTube, the Sales Mama podcast. So if you type in Sausha Davis or Sales Mama, I'm sure you'll find me.
Okay. All right. Well, I will definitely be giving you a follow. You have dropped so much value here today with us. For anyone that's out there listening, this small 30-minute segment, you can actually start you up a business just from this conversation. Just get out there and sell, especially if you're an expert. If you're an expert at anything, and most of us are, you have something that you can offer others. And if not, you can offer it to the person that you used to be. There's plenty of people out there just like you. So Sausha, thank you for coming on today and speaking with this crowd.
Thank you. I loved it.
So to anyone that's out there listening, I want you to remember the motto: keep making moves, make money, and make meaningful memories. Until next time, we'll see you later.